Hey there, super friends. This is Joey with Last Point Gaming. If you want to connect with us on social media, you can subscribe to our Last Point Gaming YouTube channel. You can friend up our Last Point Gaming Facebook account. You can follow us on Twitter at Last Point Gaming. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Stranger Sparrow, or you can always reach out directly with an email to lastpointgaming@gmail.com. Today is Monday, February 19th, 2018, and this is Driving Rants. Yeah, this doesn't flow right. Oh well. Still working on it. I think I'm going to test feed a description today and see how that carries over through everywhere I can see our stuff. And see if I can just chuck that stuff in there. But neither here nor there. So, weekend gaming report, as I usually do that on Mondays. Went 2-2 at F&M. I actually took down Boo. Which, by the way, before anybody's like, oh god, you beat your kid in a sanctioned event, you can just give her the win. This is the first time I have legitimately beat her in an actual F&M match. Every time I have played her for a for realsies match, I have lost to her. And not really softballing her. Maybe not sideboarding as aggressively as I normally would against the deck she was playing. But not okay, I'll wait to raid that Oketra's Monument and, at least let her get one warrior off of it, or one discounted spell cast. But no. So, you know what? I'm proud of that damn victory. Let's see here, then proceeded to lose to blue-white cycling. Blah. I hate that deck. It's a good deck. This is way better than I gave it credit for. That one, oh my god. So game 2, I put in my Lost Legacies, because that's what you do against that deck. Unfortunately, he was able to land the Drakehaven the turn before I could Lost Legacy, because I did win game 1. So he was on the play. So I cast Lost Legacy turn 3. Well, he's already got a Drakehaven, so I could take the rest of them, but Drakehavens aren't really particularly great in multiples. Because you have to pay to activate, I guess, to get the Drake. It's not just whenever you cycle, get a free 2/2 Drake, which, oh my god, could you imagine how fucking broken that would be? Oh. But you have to pay for it to activate to get the Drake. So which means you have to pay for each Drakehaven. Now that does give you the option to, say, pay 3 additional in addition to the cycling costs to get 3 Drakes off of one cycle instead of having to find 3 things to cycle to get 1 Drake apiece. So it has that advantage, but they're not really super duper fantastic in multiples. They're okay. If you happen to have a lot of mana and nothing else to do with it, like you only got 1 cycler, okay. It saves you on, between mana, paying more cycling costs, and allows you to create multiple Drakes off the same cycle. But so I wasn't going to go after his Drakehavens because he already managed to land 1. So what's the next biggest threat in the post-board game? Regal Carcarau, clearly. Caracal. The fucking Cat Lord. God, I never get it right. Anyway, clearly that's the next biggest threat, right? So I named that because everybody else who's played Blue-White Drakehaven against me on game 2 has sided them in. He did not. Completely blown Lost Legacy because I tried to metagame it. Look at that. Lesson learned. Next time, just go for the Fumigates and the Settles. In any case, though, so lost to that deck. Did give him a pretty good run for his money, but just couldn't close it out. That's, I talk about this Pirates deck being garbage. It's not garbage like decks I used to put together. It's just not great. It's just a little bit to the left of the mark. Round 3, lost to Sultai Energy. Again, there was another, like, real fast game 1. Took him down, no problem. And then games 2 and 3, the one game, I didn't win, actually. No, I went 0-2 in that fucking round. Oh, yeah, I remember now. That was bad. The one game, I just completely flooded out. So it's funny, because when we went to sideboard, he's like, yeah, I don't even really know what to do sideboard playing, because I didn't really get to see much of your deck. I see some red and some black. And I'm like, yep, lands for days. Yeah, that one's just blowout. And then round 4, I beat black-green counters. Though, that one, I'm not sure how to feel about it. Because I think he might have been a newer player, despite being a guy a little past my age. And it's weird, because I see people around my age who are a little bit older, and I just assume that, oh, okay, you've been playing for a while. I forget you can pick up the game really at any age. Just, like, some weird interactions, like, I had cast a lightning strike targeting his winding constrictor, which had a counter on it, so it was a 3/4, and he's like, okay. I'm like, alright, well now I'm going to tap and sack my Fanatical Firebrand to deal the last point. He's like, well, in response, I'm going to remove a counter from my Walking Ballista and kill your Firebrand. And I'm like, okay, so you can't do that, because part of the cost is sacrificing him. By the time the ability's on the stack, he's already gone. He's like, alright, so what if I responded to your lightning strike with it? And I'm like, that also wouldn't work, because I can then activate him in response. He's like, so I can't stop you from paying that cost. I'm like, yeah. Cost payment is like the fastest effect in the game. Like, if the effect were tap, Fanatical Firebrand does 1 damage to target creature and 1 damage to itself. Or, you know, if it was, well, if it was 1 damage to target creature you control, 1 damage to target creature you don't control, and I targeted it, in that case, if he killed it in response to the activation, it would still work, because there would still be one of the 2 legal targets left. So, I don't know. I don't know how that would have to be worded for you to be able to basically interrupt it. So I explained that to him and everything, and, that one, because we were into the second game, and, like, I was cleaning up his board so I could get a clean swing. And we didn't have any, like, weird interactions like that in game 1, and I didn't even really notice anything kind of off-kilter in the way he was playing. Like, he cast a Blossoming Defense at one point that I was like, I don't know. I kind of feel like I would have saved that for something better. I don't remember what I was killing. But then, a lot of times when I'm in a situation like that where, I attempt to make a move and they respond to it by doing something that I question, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong. I could be wrong. Just because, especially black-green counters is more of a grindy mid-range deck than an aggressive deck. So, yeah, sometimes, you want a Blossoming Defense the snake, because you need the snake to stick around. I don't know. So there were, like, little moves that I was like, not sure that's what I would have done there, but I don't play the deck, so I don't know, maybe that was the right call. So it wasn't until this point that I realized, like, oh, I wonder, like, if you're newer to even just sanction play, like organized play, because it is a little bit different in ball game. But anyway, I did take the round. So I went 2-2. It was an improvement over last week, because I was going to try to put together a deck, but as I talked about last week, I decided, screw it, because we're going to Modern, and I'm going to play that Humans deck as much as I possibly can, even if it sucks in the wake of Jason Blood Burrito. Just because I love the deck. I do need to get Phantasmal Images. I keep forgetting that. And also check for, I think that one runs Seachrome Coast, the blue-white fast land, as opposed to Glacial Fortress, because you only have like one land with a type in it, and that's the plains. But if we don't have those, I could always just run the blue-white shock. Which most of the time you're going to be filing in Phantasmal Image anyway, so it's not a big deal. But, so I was just not going to bother building a standard deck, and then Sunday happened, and I went, oh, that's right, I got to keep running these standard showdowns. Now, I think we're about halfway through the standard showdowns, because I think it was the first week, I just didn't even know it was happening. This time of year is really busy for Boss 2 because of what he does on the side. So things start getting a little hairy with coordinating who's doing what. So, like, they forgot to do the Facebook event. You know, it wasn't really a forget so much as miscommunication of who was creating the Facebook event. So, I missed the first week completely, and I've done 3 now. I think Standard Showdown runs for 8 weeks. So we should be about halfway through, but that means I got 4 more weeks, which I can either continue playing this not so great deck or build something that I like a little better. I don't know. Depends on how I prioritize laziness and winning, like which one wins. Went 0-3 at the showdown. It was a bloodbath. I mean, each of my rounds I got a couple hits in, but yeah, 0-3. Boo ended up going 1-3 or 1-2. At F&M, she went 1-3. But yeah, that's what we did this weekend. Super exciting news. Brendan DeCandio won the SCG Indy Open. So weird thing. As I'm watching the finals, if you haven't watched it yet, and you like to watch some fun kookiness in Modern, I highly recommend at least going and watching Game 1 of the finals, because it was spectacular. After that game ended, I posted on Twitter, and I actually tagged Brendan DeCandio in it. I don't know, I'm hit or miss on if I tag the pro players I like when I tweet about them, because they gotta get like 1 billion mentions a day, right? If I'm showing support, usually I'll tag them, but not even always then. Just, I don't know. I generally go out of my way to not be a nuisance. But I tagged him and was like, yeah, get there. And he later, favorited the tweet, but in order to clear the notification, I have to actually tap the notification for likes for some reason. I accidentally tapped his picture, so I went to his profile, and I realized I don't follow this guy. And I don't know how that's possible, because one of my favorite things about him is the fact that when he's on the road for tournaments, he uploads these 30-second to 2-minute videos on YouTube of him hanging out at the bar with Todd Stevens, of him walking through the convention hall with Dylan Donegan, of him catching Jody Keith doing karaoke. They're just fun little clips of you into the excitingness of the traveling and tournaments for, one of those high up players. And I love those little videos. I watch them every time I see him pop up in my feed, which is every weekend that he's at an event. It must be other people I follow also follow him and like his videos or retweet them or something, because they show up in my feed a lot, but apparently I wasn't following him up until yesterday. Holy crap, was Sunday only yesterday? seems so far away. Yeah, some Beatles action there. Anyway, moving right along. So yeah, he won the Modern Open. Todd Stevens won the Standard Classic with blue-white control, so sorry, I don't care about that deck. I want nothing to do with it. I'm not blue-white, blue-black. Because Scarab Gods, man. Straight up Value Town. Hint. If you allow your opponent to untap with the Scarab God, and do not have a Scarab God of your own, or possibly a Godfarer's Gift, I don't know about that, you're like 95% gonna lose. Sticky threats, yo. Sticky fucking threats. This is one of the reasons that I really feel like Vraska's Contempt belongs in the sideboard of the red-black deck, but I don't know. I may look into, last I heard there was still like a really good straight-up red-black aggro deck running around. I may look into if I have what I need to convert to that deck. But, I don't know. I'm okay with losing a Standard Showdown, really. Boo has a really good time going to play, and rather than just sit around and watch her play, I get to play too, and that's like my payment for being a judge is I get to play in it for free, so I only have to pay for her to play. And she has a really good time at them, so whatever. I don't need prize packs. But, yeah, no, it was a good weekend. What else do I have to talk about? I had other things to talk about. I just don't remember what. I did get to watch, actually, a fair amount of the coverage of Indy. I think I watched like all of the top 8 coverage. I think I came into the quarterfinals a little bit into their game 1, because Sunday's harder for me, of course, because, you know, I'm at the shop for a couple hours, and there was a D&D group in with very nice woman, probably closer to my parents' age than mine, and she was pretty taken with me and Boo, so we ended up, like, hanging around for an hour after talking to her because I couldn't find a polite way to be like, I would like to leave now. Especially because I do not smoke in the car when Boo or Bird's in the car. So when she goes to the shop with me, I, let her hang around inside and chat with the guys while I go outside and smoke a cigarette before we leave. So it makes it even more awkward to be like, all right, well, we gotta go. To then, go outside and smoke. But, no, she was really nice. In any case, though, I did get to watch most of the top 8 coverage, and I did check out a bit on Saturday as well. I didn't really watch coverage of GP Leon, which was also Modern. I don't know, it was really hard to care about Modern this weekend, because the landscape's about to be really edited, theoretically. Now, I am seeing rumbles of people online saying that, they've been trying using Mind Sculptor or been up against decks where they're trying to use them, and he's just not that oppressive. But we are still in, the first week of the unban there. Well, I guess we've just started getting into the second week of the unban online. We're just starting the unban in paper. So that could be a lot attributed to people are still kind of fumbling and figuring out what direction to go in him. Jamming him into a deck that he doesn't really belong in, or trying to force a deck around him that just isn't well composed yet. Because there's a lot of trial and error in brewing. So, I don't know. I do hold out some small sliver of hope that he's not going to be as oppressive as we're all thinking. But I'm not very confident in that. So, and again, like, even watching, my Twitter stream and videos that popped up in my YouTube feed that I may or may not have watched, because I get a lot of videos in my stream anymore. All the top players really feel like this is the end of an era in Modern. And I trust their opinions on it way more. But, I don't know. So it was, like, really hard to care about Modern this weekend in paper. Except it's SCG, and it was Matthias and Ryan, and I do genuinely enjoy listening to those two go back and forth. Like, I adore Matthias. I just think he's adorable. That's why I adore him, because he is able to be adored. No, I really like him. I like his sense of humor. He reminds me a lot, personality-wise, of Michael Majors, who I always loved in the Versus series. It was another one of those. I'm happy for him in his career that, he got to move on to a kind of development position with WotC, but was definitely sad to see him leave the Versus series. But that's, personality-wise, it's like the closest person I can think of that Matthias reminds me of. And I did quite enjoy Michael Majors as well. So, what else we got here? Oh, by the way, so is MTGO chat really, like, an insano garbage fire? I saw this guy, Taryn, actually signal boosted it, which is why I saw it. Racial homophobic slurs in the chat of MTGO. Now, like, look, I know there are multiple opinions on the whole Jeremy ban, but it happened. WotC set a precedent. They said, okay, look, you were an asshole on social media. Like, straight up. Or even Travis Wu, who didn't seem to, based on screenshots that were shared, be an asshole himself on social media so much as facilitate it by creating this Facebook group. And he got, a 1 year or 2 year ban? This fucking guy, oh my god. Like, it was awful. I'm sure if the person who was targeted with this had been a woman, he would have hit the trifecta of racial, homophobic, and sexist. But as it stands, he only hit 2 of them. And this whole thread, where he shared the screenshot and people replying to him, is along the lines of, yeah, it would be great if WotC would do something about that, but they won't. Alright, look, you said your actions dictate that saying unkind things on the internet is a bannable offense. Now, I will grant that the difference here being when Jeremy said mean things in his YouTube videos and on Twitter, he has a follower base that then one could reasonably believe that his followers took these actions as permission to harass this person, to target them. That it wasn't so much just the things he said, it was him spotlighting these individuals that painted a giant target on their back. And this is a fair argument to a point, and I'm not going to rehash all that. I did many, many episodes on my entire opinion on that whole situation. But, whereas this guy is, theoretically, doesn't have a follower base. But I don't know, he could be a fucking streamer. Does anybody know? Maybe should look and see if we can find him. That this shit is then posted on his stream, which then it is more of an identical situation, less of a, well, there's nuances. But I'm sorry, the shit coming out of this guy's keyboard was way worse than anything that came out of Jeremy's mouth. Maybe not anything. Jeremy did hit a few particularly low points concerning Sprankle and cosplayers, and especially considering some cosplayers that are, how to respectfully put this, that weren't always perceived as the same person. I'm definitely trying to be sensitive to gender dysphoria and everything, and continuously looping people into the quote-unquote transgender community lends to stereotyping, I guess. But anyway, he did make some particularly cringeworthy comments concerning at least one cosplayer that transitioned. But in any case, I mean, most of what came out of this guy's keyboard was worse than Jeremy on an average day. Where the fuck is the banhammer for this guy? So I signal boosted it and I tagged WotC help, because I feel like that's how you get action, is enough people have to complain, which, by the way, I still feel is kind of shitty. I still feel like the fact that it was Sprankle who decided to leave the community over how she was being treated online, regardless of the source or anything else. Again, we won't get into all that. But because it was this community member that was well-liked and everything, had a big following, so when she posted out about this, people boosted it, and, you know, tons of people said to WotC, now are you going to do something? That's the only reason anything was done. She was the right kind of victim. And I am still really not down with that. I think if Mulan, you know, one of my girls here from the local community, if she's at a tournament and is talked to that way or harassed or bullied in any way, the reaction should be, you know, meaningful. Even though she, you know, isn't a streamer, she isn't a cosplayer, she's not a prominent, well-known member of the community as a, you know, on the macro scale. She's a well-known member of our local community. But because she's not somebody in a spotlight to the Magic community as a whole, I don't like the idea that something, you know, some trespass against her would be ignored because there wasn't enough good PR from doing anything about it. And that's what this kind of thing signifies to me, when all these people on this thread, it's like, yeah, I report shit like this all the time, nothing's ever done. I play against the same person 2 days later. I play against the same person a month later. That, you know, if your stance is that this kind of shit isn't acceptable, then it needs to not be acceptable no matter who the oppressor or who the victim is. But, that being said, that's enough for my controversial rant for the day, I guess. I'm home now. As always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to y'all later.